Let me give you a hopium chart. I just need to share it's an ETH hopium chart. That's ETH
Wow, that's a
versus ETH last year. I can't find a closer fit. I can't. That's crazy. And Bitcoin is also repeating what it did last year. I mean, literally perfectly. So we've got the macro overlay. The Fed are going to keep cutting over time. The other central banks are going to be involved. We've got the seasonality in place. We've got the global liquidity cycle in place. I don't know what else is left.
Raoul is a renowned macro analyst, a big crypto bull, and a former Goldman Sachs executive. As a macro analyst, a lot of Pal's work revolves around how the macroeconomic conditions impact the global financial markets, especially the cryptocurrency and digital asset space in which Pal is heavily invested. According to Pal, global liquidity conditions are about to improve vastly as central banks move from quantitative tightening policies and rate hikes to rate cuts and various quantitative easing measures to stop their respective economies from getting too hot. The U.S. Federal Reserve officially kicked off the transition last Wednesday when it announced its first rate cut since March 2020. Pal is 100% convinced that the transition will contribute to significantly higher prices for the cryptocurrency market. Though Pal is generally bullish on cryptocurrencies and other digital assets, he is particularly interested in top cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and Sui, which Pal has described as next cycle's Solana. In a recent video update on the Real Vision platform, Pal gives a much-needed update on the macroeconomic environment and what's coming for the cryptocurrency market in the coming weeks and months. Pal also reveals his best strategy for investing in the cryptocurrency market in such an environment to take advantage of the $100 trillion opportunity he believes lies ahead for the crypto market in coming years. Please stay tuned as we bring you clips from Pal's video, in which he speaks about the coming banana zone, the cryptocurrencies he's investing in, and the best crypto strategy for investors in 2025 and beyond. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Also, check out our other crypto-related videos featuring renowned industry experts like Michael Saylor, Kathy Wood, Lynn Alden, and more. Thanks for watching and enjoy the video. Have you ever struggled with exchanging large amounts of cryptocurrency? I recently had to exchange $200,000 and ran into several problems with crypto exchanges. Initially, I wanted to use a popular exchange, but then found out how inconvenient it was. The verification process was a nightmare. I had to gather tons of documents like ID and proof of address, which took forever and was quite annoying. I then tried a different exchange. Unfortunately, it limited how much you could exchange in one go. Splitting the amount into several transactions was quite a hassle, and the exchange rate changes every time. Next, I tried decentralized exchanges, but the slippage was insane. The rate I ended up getting was nowhere near what I expected. At that point, I was frustrated. So, I looked for a better solution and discovered GOLDEX. Honestly, GOLDEX was a huge relief. No need for complicated verification or transaction limits. I was able to exchange my entire $200,000 in one go, and the process took just a few minutes. It also has a fixed rate, so I didn't have to worry about unexpected changes. I can confidently say that using GOLDEX has made my crypto exchanges incredibly smooth and efficient. If you're tired of dealing with issues on other exchanges, I highly recommend giving GOLDEX a try. Click the link in the description and start enjoying effortless exchanges today. Trust me, you won't regret it.
From everything I look at, this is a killer. It's an absolute beautiful chart. It's the GMI Global Weekly Liquidity, so that's both private sector liquidity and public sector liquidity from the large global economies. It's just perfect. It leads by 10 weeks. M2 does pretty much a pretty similar job as well. So you've got that. You've got Bitcoin seasonality is always strong from this point onwards. And Bitcoin is also repeating what it did last year. Literally perfectly. So we've got the macro overlay. The Fed are going to keep cutting over time. The other central banks are going to be involved. We've got the seasonality in place. We've got the global liquidity cycle in place. I don't know what else is left. It's kind of like it has to be now. Even the chart patterns, usually you get 3 touches at the top, 3 touches at the bottom of a range. That usually works. So I think all of the elements are in play. I think either way, whatever the outcome of the election, it goes up afterwards anyway. We've seen that in the past. But we saw the last time Trump was in, obviously, because Trump is very tax light, very stimulative, and he's very pro crypto. So regulatory stuff, both for tech and for crypto, that you feel like that could be an extra juice if that were to happen. And 2016-17 was the last Trump cycle. We didn't have the Fed actually easing liquidity massively. They were just starting to raise rates, and they stopped for 2016-17. And it was the Chinese who were creating the liquidity, and the market went, bananas-tastic in 2017. Let me give you a hopium chart. I just need to share it's an ETH hopium chart. That's ETH versus ETH last year. I can't find a closer fit. I can't. That's crazy. The other thing about the ETH Bitcoin cross is it's actually driven by the ISM and the business cycle. So you're kind of all in that point on a weekly, for those who like technicals, on a weekly DMARC count. ETH just put in a 13 low as well. It feels that everything is in place, but that chart is quite remarkable. Now, we know that these charts fall apart just when you want them the most to work. So expect it to not work, but it's just interesting contextually. I've got a very strong thesis on this, that as the market cap of crypto goes up over time from 2 trillion to where I think it's going, which is 100 trillion, you're going to generate more wealth than any other trade in all human history in the shortest period of time. And that gets recycled into art. And, I started buying Xcopy really in January and have been buying all year. That triggered a whole bunch of people. And I've shared the thesis a lot with people that, the really culturally relevant things will be highly sought after first. But I think it will broaden out again. Art doesn't go away. And so we've seen punks, Xcopy, and, there's very little Beeple for sale at all. So those are there. Yes, Fidenzas have come down in price, and yes, some of the others have come down in price. But I think we will see a rotation. It's kind of like, if you think of Xcopy and Beeple and punks as Bitcoin, you get Bitcoin dominance first. And as the market broadens out, it moves to the other layer ones, layer twos, and other stuff. And I think we'll see the same here. I think we will see a big uptick in art as we start going through all-time highs, not only in Bitcoin, but in the other big one, which is Solana, because that's what people have got a lot of. We surveyed all of our hedge funds in Exponential Age Asset Management and XPAM, and the biggest trade is Solana.
The banana zone soon cometh, and all you have to do is not lose your tokens, or, in Pal's words, don't f*** this up. According to the former Goldman Sachs executive, every indicator shows that the much-anticipated big moves are much closer than you can imagine, and it's going to start almost overnight. We just wake up someday, and Bitcoin is trading above $70,000, then $80,000, and then all hell breaks loose. Your only job is to hold on for dear life and patiently ride the wave so you can reap the benefits. In a post he made on Twitter, the Real Vision CEO wrote, "The job of every bull market is to throw you off. Your job is to not part with your tokens. That is your single job. If you can just not f*** this up, keep hold of your tokens, and then eventually, the banana zone comes, and we can realize some of our hopes and dreams. There is a risk that may not happen, but I don't see it in all of the macro work. It doesn't mean we're 100% right, but the odds are stacked in our favor, and the everything code is our friend. I don't know whether the bottom is today, next week, or the week after. I wouldn't try to time the bottom, but I would try to think about how to get more money into these markets in a kind of measured way, whether you dollar cost average in or not." In his video, Pal also discusses other projects he believes show great promise and how he is investing in them to avoid the extreme volatility of the cryptocurrency market. One project that has been on Pal's radar for the past few months is Sui, and the former Goldman Sachs executive describes it as the chosen one. Here are more clips from the video. Here are...
just the disclaimer is I am on the board of the foundation, but I'm a mercenary when it comes to my own money, and I have for a while been thinking, all three of us have talked about this, is that this might be one of the chosen ones. And the reason being is that the team is world-class. They've built, scalable blockchains suitable for 3 billion people plus. I mean, these guys are world-class. They're a little bit technical. So the narrative was missing, but then started to come alive with narrative. But the reality is they've got the latency of the chain down to 600 milliseconds. It's stupid fast. They've now just building this Walrus, which is a data storage layer, which is a separate token, but it's like basically AWS on top of, this whole move virtual machine idea. Then they've got Pilot Fish coming, which is their version kind of a Fire Dancer, which gives it kind of unlimited TPS. And they've got a very serious biz dev team. Obviously, we've just got Circle, and there'll be, I'm sure, plenty of others, whether it's in gaming or real world assets and other stuff to come. So they're just capturing mind share. Now, don't forget, this is a low free float. And once you capture mind share in a low free float, it outperforms by definition because there's less of it around. You can have the same mind share for ETH. It's not going to go, it's barely going to move. So I know people hate low free floats. You're going to love them in a bull market and hate them again in a bear market because they're just super beta. So I think that's the point to realize. It's also super beta, capturing mind share. They seem to be executing well, and people are looking for the next big trade. Because as Ovi was talking about, people are kind of like, well, is the Solana trade over? What's the next big one? And so it feels like it's got everything right. I think I don't see what else is going to dominate. I look at the charts of SUI versus the top 20 tokens and a whole bunch of other stuff. I don't see anything that looks close to being able to compete with it for the time being. The only things coming are Monad and Berachain. Doesn't mean that Celestia and all this stuff doesn't go up a lot, but it's very difficult to see anything that's going to outperform that chart. The other one that's interesting, I just interviewed John Wu from Avalanche, and I caught up with Piers Kicks in Portugal when I was there. And I don't know, have you met Piers yet, Mando? You've got to meet him. He's such a great guy, good friend of mine, and he's the gaming guy at Delphi. And he talked about the investment he's made in off the grid. He's like, it is the best game I've ever seen in Web3, and it may be one of the best games I've ever played. That's on Avalanche. And I got John on because of what Piers said to talk about it. That's going to be really interesting because we've not had a proper breakout. This is a battle royale game, ultra high definition, super quality. If this takes off, okay, that's a big deal. It's not really about token price for me in that. It's like, can you actually use this stuff for loyalty, logistics, deep in, and all of the things that are being talked about? But in the markets, no, I'm super concentrated. It's the Solana, SUI, and even my memes are all down to two, which is Doge and smoking chicken fish. So I'm hyper concentrated, and then NFTs is my long-term savings bucket. Stuff I want to have for 10 years, and that's it. I'm trying to keep out of trouble. I think it's a really important thing. Is if you think you've got decently strong narratives, just don't fuck around with it, because before you know it, you chop yourself up to death by trying to catch something.
Powell says to make as much money as you can before the AI renaissance begins in 2030. This is the birth of his popular "Don't f*** this up" meme. According to the former Goldman Sachs executive, we are now in the crypto gold rush era, during which the overall crypto market cap will go from just above $2 trillion today to $50 or even $100 trillion by 2030. To avoid missing this extraordinary opportunity, Powell says you should avoid leverage and FOMO so you don't lose your coins. Keep your main bag, about 90% of your crypto allocation, in the top 3 to 5 crypto assets. Self-custody your coins, or use multi-sig with good wallet hygiene. Only trade a small degen bag, less than 10% of your portfolio. Hodl over a longer time horizon. Zoom out and remove the noise. Expect and prepare for pullbacks even during bull markets. And always buy the dip if you can. What's your best strategy for investing in cryptocurrencies? Are you almost fully all in on top cryptocurrencies like PAL with only a small degen bag? Or are you betting it all on some insane project that could blow overnight? Please share your thoughts, comments, and observations in the comments section below. Also, ensure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.